have Genevieve Lucas-Conwell, who is the director of programs at Acterra, Action for a Healthy Planet. But before that, she was the executive director of the Coalition of Homeless Service Providers of Monterey and San Benito counties. And before that, senior project manager for the Downtown Streets program in Santa Cruz County. So Genevieve is particularly well placed to talk about homeless encampments and the issues involved in the continuums of care. So I will turn it over to you, Genevieve.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. As Dennis mentioned, I'm Genevieve Lucas-Conwell, the Director of Programs here at Acterra. I'll go ahead and share my screen to share my presentation. Today, we'll be talking about the Waterways as well as homeless encampments, with which Director Beal and Dennis have done a great job of introducing already for myself in terms of the Santa Clara County Valley Waterways situation. So a little bit about what I'll be talking about today. So I'll talk a little bit more about background, the landscape around San Mateo and Santa Clara County as it pertains to those experiencing homelessness in those counties, the relevant events that are currently happening both at the federal and local level, as well as some strategy planning and resources for folks in the audience. So as Dennis has mentioned, my current experience at Acterra is a little bit different than what I used to play or what I used to do previously. So I just want to speak a little bit as to why I'm speaking on this today. I started out my journey as a case manager in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and then worked my way up to senior program manager at Downtown Streets team in Santa Cruz, where then I continued on as the executive director of the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers, which is the continuum of care in Monterey and San Benito County. The continuum of care is the federal entity, very much how Valley District Water is the federal the entity. The regional entity for Santa Clara County in charge of distributing water. The coalition and continuums of care are the federal entity designated to support and take care of unhoused residents. Currently, I'm the director of programs here at Acterra, and I also serve on 2 advisory boards for Downtown Streets team and Gathering for Women, a local shelter in Monterey County for women. So one of the things that I think is always really important to talk about when we talk about homeless encampments and anything of the sort is to actually understand who is experiencing homelessness, who are the people that are experiencing homelessness. Director Beal has already done a great job of articulating those folks, but I just want to present the data. So you'll see here, I have a QR code here, just kind of showcasing where this data has come from. It is the Office of Supportive Housing in Santa Clara County. That is the continuum of care in Santa Clara County. And that's the point in time count. The point in time count is a federally mandated report that needs to be conducted every 2 years around January and February. So it happens every 2 years. Each continuum of care does it differently. It can be on even years, odd years. Pandemic kind of threw things, threw many things, out the window, and the point in time count was one of them. So a lot of COCs, continuums of care, are getting back on track with their data. But you'll see here, I just wanted to kind of showcase, if you've already been kind of looking at this data, in 2023, the point in time count was around 9,000 folks, 9,900 folks, so close to 10,000 folks experiencing homelessness in Santa Clara County, with 75% of those being unsheltered. So how we define unsheltered is folks that are not within a shelter, that are living on the streets in their cars. So those are folks that are considered unsheltered. One thing that I always like to articulate is a big myth around homelessness is that folks move to different locations. to be in, certainly in California where it's sunnier. It actually, through data, we see that that is not true. Most folks actually fall into homelessness from the area that they are from. So you'll see here that 85% were residents of Santa Clara County before they became homeless, with 54% of those folks residing in Santa Clara County for more than 10 years. So if you're a Santa Clara County resident and you're seeing folks on the street, those are your neighbors. They have been there for quite a long time, and it's our duty to support them and see how we can give them a landing hand. Another myth that comes into homelessness is that the primary condition that normally folks that we suspect folks to fall that led them to homelessness was alcohol or drug use or mental health. Largely throughout the state as well as the Bay Area, including Santa Clara County, you do see that 25% was due to economic reasons such as loss of job. In San Mateo County, you'll notice here that the data is a little bit different due to the different reports in different county showcasing different things. So I will be kind of showcasing a little bit of the available data that San Mateo County had available. Their continuum of care, their COC, is through the Office of Human Services Agency, the HSA. So that's where you'll see the QR code lead you. So in San Mateo County, there is a dip. There's not as high of a population, and there's around 2,000 folks that are experiencing homelessness in San Mateo County, with about 1,100 of those being unsheltered. And then here you'll see here the same trend as Santa Clara County, where most folks were living in San Mateo County before they fell into homelessness. And you'll see here the locations of folks that were unsheltered through in 2024 were largely in cars, RVs, and streets. And so very few had sustainable structures that they can stay in. How does this compare to the landscape in the Bay Area? So in Bay Area, we have about 35,000 folks that are experiencing homelessness throughout the Bay Area regions. Santa Clara County and Alameda County being the highest numbers where we're seeing homelessness. And then more than 70% are living unsheltered. So that just means that we do not have adequate enough shelter for them to come in at night. That means interim shelter, non-congregate shelters for them to stay in. And throughout those counties, we see that the main contributing factor are economic reasons. So we're seeing that throughout all the counties. And you'll see that report through Homebase. And Homebase is a consulting firm that works closely with continuums of care throughout the Bay Area and actually federally. So as mentioned previously, there's a lot of current events that have been happening around homelessness. So the Grants Pass versus Johnson Supreme Court decision overturned the Ninth Circuit decision around Martin versus Boise. And Martin versus Boise was a really instrumental court decision at the time to protect folks that were unhoused by ensuring that if there was an encampment suite, that cities and jurisdictions had to provide them some sort of shelter. So because of this decision that has now been overruled, and that stemmed from Grants Pass in Oregon, which is very detrimental to human rights, housing rights, and has definitely put a damper on, not damper, but just has definitely also affected California. Right before the election, Gavin Newsom did want to press the Grants Pass decision in California. So there was a lot of encampment suites. If you see throughout the region in San Francisco, you see encampment suites happening very frequently. And if you haven't noticed, I'm against encampment suites. And so I will just kind of state that. Locally in Santa Clara County, we had AB 1469, which is actually a very promising assembly bill that supported and set aside some funding for Valley Water, as Jim Beal mentioned and Dennis mentioned previously, to set aside some funding for the water district to support encampment solutions, which looks at interim housing solutions, as well as outreach into the encampments, which is really great. One big issue with homelessness is that there's just never enough funding. It's a very high cost problem in terms of accessing more housing and building more housing. And so more funding into the pot is always a positive thing. An important thing to also note is that in February of 2024, the city of San Jose also voted to pass a no return zone alongside the Guadalupe River. So there's a little bit of a mixed bag of news here. So a little bit more around AB 1469. This has already kind of been touched on last presentation, but I did reach out to a Valley Water official, and they just kind of gave me a little bit more information around AB 1469 and what is going to be currently implemented through this assembly bill. So there is quite an active participation with the City of San Jose and the Office of Supportive Housing to acquire a 2-acre site around Cherry Avenue for an emergency interim housing project. And there's also going to be an evaluation of 4 additional Valley Water properties for safe sleeping sites, and ongoing discussions with nonprofits and local agencies for temporary housing development, which are all really positive developments. I echo Jim Beal's statements around collaboration. It's instrumental. We're all in this together, and the only way that we can really get closer to ending getting to functional zero homelessness, which functional zero homelessness is serving folks that are willing and interested in housing, is through interagency collaboration. So challenges with land availability. This has been something that I personally seen when I was at the coalition as well, and I'm not surprised to see that Santa Clara County is also having some similar issues. So most unutilized Valley Water land is reserved for future flood protection projects, limiting availability for permanent solutions right now. And also zoning laws are really big, can cause a lot of red tape around building permanent housing solutions. And then the current focus is on temporary solutions right now, like emergency interim housing and safe sleeping communities. I also wanted to kind of provide an example that I was personally involved with. So some of you might have remembered in March 2023, the Pajaro levee broke and affected thousands of residents around Pajaro, which the Pajaro River is actually the jurisdiction line for Santa Cruz County and Monterey County. Has always been a very contentious spot in terms of who is taking care of residents there and who is in charge of, putting funding into this. So actually, before the Pajaro levee broke in December 2022, the Monterey County, myself, the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers, County of Santa Cruz, the City of Watsonville, Pajaro Regional Management Flood Agency, we all collaborated on an $8 million grant together called the Encampment Resolution Fund. That's administered by the California Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is CAL-ICH, to apply for a tiny home village that would be operated by Dignity Moves. So this was a really promising solution. We were really excited about it because before any encampment sweeps actually happened, we applied for this grant. We collaborated with 3 different outreach teams, both on the Santa Cruz side and the Monterey County side, to mobilize and engage with residents, make sure that they're in our local database so that we're able to track their services and make sure that there's a case manager appointed to each person, really putting in the human in front of this project. We also collaborated with our Lived Experience Council that we headed in the Monterey County area that also was involved partially in supporting and advising onto the grant as well. So it was really a project that was for the community, or for the community by the community. Of course, the devastation of March 2023 happened at that time, and so our grant was approved, thankfully, in June of 2023, where we were awarded. And now the plans, I have to say, have not moved forward. There's a lot of contention right now in the city of Watsonville around having this tiny home village So there's always a lot of different steps to build affordable housing, not only just affordable housing, but interim and permanent solutions. So these things, unfortunately, for different reasons, take time. And so when I hear about everything that's going on in Santa Clara County and San Mateo County around why are we not moving fast enough, we're building things around for the community, and so there's always two steps forward and one step back when it comes to community planning, which I'm sure some of you can relate to. So one thing that I want to mention was with these different types of projects and problems that we're facing, it's really important to look at the full picture, like who needs to be involved and what kind of solutions do we need to bring to the table. One of them is informed care. Specifically, trauma-informed and harm reduction approaches have been proven to provide long-lasting solutions around homelessness. And this is proven by UCSF Benioff. They had actually a really long and beautiful report around housing is health. And actually, I do have to say, I disagree with Director Jim Beal kindly around hospitalization and forced care can actually be quite traumatizing and do more damage to folks. And so actually placing them into housing first can provide longer term solutions and break the cycle of chronic homelessness, which is ideally what we want. It does take longer, but if we want to get to a resilient community, that's the path that has been proven through numerous studies to provide results. So in terms of employment as well, there's great ways to encourage peer-to-peer programming. To promote my last organization that I worked with, Downtown Streets team, we actually had work development programs around the San Lorenzo River in Santa Cruz County to repair the reptilian reservoir around San Lorenzo County. So folks that were experiencing homelessness were actually planting and repairing the levee, which was really not the levee, sorry, but repairing and restoring the natural elements of the river, which was a really beautiful community project. And more projects like that would bring the community together, again, to provide community resilience. Authentic collaboration between different entities is also crucial for any successful project. It's awesome to hear that Valley District Water has actually put in some funding and money into this to be able to collaborate with agencies as well as the Office of Supportive Housing. So it sounds as if it's going in the right direction. Housing is also really important. You'll see different types of opinion with permanent supportive housing being a priority in building sustainable solutions for unhoused residents. My opinion is that actually a diverse type of housing needs to happen for different stages of homelessness, including building more interim housing, specifically non-congregate shelters where there's more privacy in shelters, as well as rapid rehousing, which offers supportive housing for around 2 years and leans folks off. So that can be for folks that are in immediate crisis and just really need a leg or just need support for a short amount of time before they're able to support themselves in the longer term, as well as permanent supportive housing, which are for folks that have been chronically homeless for a majority of their time. And lived experience voices are also really important to include. Like I mentioned before, we have to include stakeholders, as we do with any community planning program, and homelessness is definitely included in making sure that we provide effective solutions. So I want to finish off my presentation here with just some reports around some of the things that I mentioned. The UCSF statewide report, which was conducted in 2022 and 2023, as well as UCSF provided an encampment resolution guide, which really kind of outlines a toolkit around really putting in housing and health if encampment sweeps are necessary at the forefront of those decisions, as well as potential funding options. I think a lot of folks sometimes don't know where to start looking in terms of how do we actually fund these programs? So I want to point to the California Interagency Council on Homelessness, as well as a great allocation that each city and county are allocated is the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program that's run by HCD in California. And if you're wondering about ways to help, the point in time count is being run every other year, like I mentioned, and it's a great way to volunteer with your community, understand the local homelessness system, how data is gathered. And to quote one of the organizations that I worked with, just say hi to your local neighbors that might be unhoused. One of the worst parts about being homeless is the isolation. And so it's one very simple way of connecting with your unhoused residents. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you, everybody.